American people are going to let their voices be heard. We are going to take this country back.
You don't need to be told what to think. You just need the facts. And you're here because you have the facts, right?
This is the kind of positive energy that America is all about.
Welcome back to America Decides. That was just some of what was heard at former President Trump's campaign rally yesterday at Madison Square Garden. I want to bring in Robert Costa, who was there. Robert, your impressions of what you saw, some 6 hours worth, correct?
That's right, Major. I was at Madison Square Garden. It's usually a place I go to see concerts, and this was a political rally. Now, it's been a site of Democratic conventions, Republican conventions in years past. You think about Jimmy Carter, George W. Bush, Al Gore, Bill Clinton, 1992. Don't stop believing. But this was about Donald Trump. And to me, watching this after covering Trump for many years, as you have, and written about him, this was about Trump trying to stoke his base ahead of the election. It wasn't about trying to play in deep blue New York. It was about having some excitement, some political electricity. But there's a cost, potentially, to that, because now Democrats are trying to amplify the comments made by some of the other speakers. Right.
And the former president and his campaign have to take responsibility for the whole thing. They knew there would be eyes on. They asked for eyes on this event. It's Madison Square Garden. They wanted lots of attention. Well, they got it. Not all of it welcome.
And it's a sign of how this campaign has been running. Trump, in terms of the inner circle of his campaign, a lot less drama than we've seen in campaigns past. But there's a bit of a looseness to the entire Trump movement. It brings in these podcast hosts, comedians, friends of Donald Trump Jr. It's not a tight ship in terms of the mechanics of the campaign and the messaging. It's Trump himself driving the message as ever.
Speaking of Donald Trump Jr., you spoke with him. I'd like to play a little bit of that exchange. Let's listen.
What's the sense of things inside the campaign, inside the Trump family? How confident is the inner circle?
You know what, it feels really good. I'm on the ground. I'm all over the place. I'm in all of the swing states. And I'm just seeing it's not just the guy in the MAGA hat anymore that's coming up to me. And I don't mean at rallies. I mean at airports on the way. People, they notice it. They understand that Donald Trump is the candidate of change. He's the guy that can fix these things. And they're being very vocal about it.
That's really crucial for the Trump campaign to be, or to reclaim, if Vice President Harris had it for any period of time, that he's the change agent, that he's the alternative. That's kind of one of the areas in which this election is going to be decided.
It really is. And I think Donald Trump Jr. is speaking to the Trump campaign's attempt to make overtures to labor, to families who are aligned in any way with the labor movement in the industrial Midwest or the South. If the Trump campaign can really make inroads with a labor voter who is unhappy with border policy, feels economic pain in their own life, whether it's inflation or their savings, if Trump can get that person who might be a traditional Democrat to come along, he could win this election. Meanwhile, the Democrats are looking at traditional Republicans and seeing some softness there for Trump, not just the Liz Cheney, anti-Trump types, but with the more business-friendly Republicans who might not like Trump's conduct on January 6th. That's why Harris, the vice president, is bringing attention to that.
One of those kind of pro-business Republicans, not as MAGA as others, Doug Burgum, the Republican governor of North Dakota, one of the many vanquished Republican rivals one time to former President Trump. You also talked to him at Madison Square Garden. His presence there is suggestive of a combining of forces. Let's listen to the governor.
Well, there's been a long history of rock stars appearing at Madison Square Garden from a concert standpoint, but also rock star athletes with the Knicks and the Rangers. And then you go back, 2004, this is the Republican National Convention was here. So it's got a political history, it's got an athletic history, it's got an entertainment history, but President Trump is a unique figure in American politics of all times. And for him, in essentially his hometown, to come here at the close of his campaign, the comeback kid when people said it could never happen. Here he is on the cusp of winning election.
Well, he may or may not be on the cusp of winning an election, but he is a product of New York and playing the Garden. Come on. That had to feel for Trump as a kind of apex moment in his political career, whatever the outcome of the election.
And he's a son of New York, but just quickly, the appearance of Burgum is significant in the sense that Trump needs that type of Republican to come out next week. He needs the traditional Republican, the business-friendly Wall Street type to stay with him despite all of his character questions, the conduct, and the comedians on stage.
Robert Costa, thank you very much.